Hey, Andrew here from the Investor's Way, and welcome to Woody's Weekly Wisdom, episode number 38. And today we're looking at one of those, cost of living headlines, and also a little bit wealth related as well. And it talks about Aussie women have revealed how much money they have really have saved. And it all comes from somebody doing a post in a Facebook group concerned about their lack of savings at their age in their early 20s. I think she was 23, the young lady, and she posted that she only had $4,000 saved and was feeling rather stressed about it. And so she put a poll in there to see, where she sat compared with a whole bunch of other people in that in various groups, and tried to get a bit of a feel for what the average was. And this article, I don't need to pull too much apart, but there was a message in here that I really wanted to highlight, and that was that a lot of the responses were about, and they weren't just 23-year-olds. There was a lot of 20s. There was a lot of, there was also people late 20s, early 30s who responded to the poll. And the general gist seems to have been that a lot of people had no savings or little savings, but they weren't that worried about it because they were, I think one person described it as, I'm just a baby adult. So, in terms of adulthood, I'm only a few years old and therefore I've got time to work it all out. And this, I guess, is where I wanted to focus, the attention. And you can see some of these articles, these comments. So this was the original post, asking about where they were. So here I am, 23 with $4,000, and you've got some people coming in and responding about having no savings or down to $1.06. Somebody else came in and said they'd saved $82,000, but it was about to become 10 because they were buying a house. And then some others 75. There's a couple there at 75, and then there's a whole bunch of people there that are basically saying I've got nothing saved at all. And so as I said, the idea of talking about this article was that there's a common thread in a lot of the responses about, well, I'm only young, and I got plenty of time to solve this, or it's so hard now. The economy is so hard. I'm not going to worry about savings until things change. And I think that is, I guess, without being overly harsh, that is where the problem when it comes to money management and wealth creation stems. And that is that it's too easy to put it off to tomorrow and make it a tomorrow problem. And the thing is that tomorrow takes a long time to arrive before that aha moment or the oh shit moment arrives. And you start to think, well, shit, I actually should do something about my money. And so the overwhelming issue that I saw with this article was there's just so many people in that 20 to say 35 age bracket who aren't that concerned about the amount of money they're saving because it's a tomorrow problem. And tomorrow, by tomorrow, they mean much further down the track. And that's unfortunate because the one person who said they'd saved $85,000 described how she had been reasonably privileged in terms of her upbringing, but that translated into she talks about how she was taught to put money aside. And so that's the message from this article, is that you need to get onto it as soon as you possibly can and put as much as you possibly can without hurting your lifestyle. Put some away, even if it is only $5 a week or whatever it might be when you're only young. Putting some away enables it to grow, and eventually, when you start to see it grow, you'll feel compelled to put more into your savings account because you actually get to see it grow and become a reasonable sum of money. The interesting thing was also is that the article talks about how, on average, men have got double the amount saved to what women do. 52 odd thousand compared to 24,000 for women. And that's, again, a scary statistic in that people are just not focusing on saving and getting themselves set up. And then it does talk about a general rule about having a plan for your money, which is something that I promote all the time. Have a plan for your money. This one goes down the path of just using set percentages. 50% for your essentials, 30% for discretionary spending, and the remaining 20% towards savings. That doesn't always work. And cold hard percentages, whilst it looks nice and is easy to describe, doesn't always work out to make sense. So it's a much better idea to do a little bit more of a deep dive into your numbers and actually have a plan about how you're going to allocate that money. And if you can't put 20% of your savings or of your money away for savings, then even if it's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever the percentage is, at least have some of your money going into savings. And by savings, it can also mean into investing. But generally, you want money being set aside for your future self. The person who at some point in the future will not be earning an income, and you need to take care of that person. And that person is you. And the responsibility to look after that person is on you. And why not get started as early as you possibly can? The sooner you are saving and investing, the more you can use the power of compounding and time to put yourself in that position to be able to take advantage of life and get all the things that you want. So I know there's lots and lots of temptations, and when we're in our 20s and early 30s, it's all about having the most amount of fun as you possibly can. But at what expense? At what cost is that coming? And it's not overly difficult to get some of that money working for you. I've got the great pleasure of working with a 17-year-old client who is, continually growing her savings and her stock investments for her future. And her parents encouraged her into a plan and a process, and we're assisting her to implement that process. And there's no reason why, if you're in your 20s, that you can't put some money aside for the future and be in a position to look after yourself. So, the article, whilst not overly sensationalized in terms of its headline, it is an important lesson that we need to learn from a simple post into a Facebook group where somebody's felt bad about their scenario, and so they've asked, well, what's that? How does that relate to everybody else? And as a result, a whole bunch of responses have shown that there's a lot of people with less than 4,000, some people with more, and unfortunately, a general consensus that it was a tomorrow problem or a kick it down the road problem that they'll worry about down the track. And it would be great to get more people just being a little more prudent with a small amount of money that they could put aside for savings. It doesn't have to be huge, but just the habit alone. And this is where I guess why I harp on this. And it's not intended to make anyone feel bad, but the habit is what we're about. If you're putting aside $5 or $10 a week or $100 a week, whatever you can manage to do, it's the habit that is going to create the results you're looking for. Not the size of the amount of money, it's the habit. Because over time, you will become so ingrained with that habit that if you don't do it, you'll feel bad. And you'll also get to see your account grow, like I said earlier. And as that account grows, you'll be able to build momentum. And again, it becomes more of a self-fulfilling prophecy as you do it more consistently and grow that income. And then you might be in that position where, like that one girl who responded who had enough money to make a deposit for a property. So that's what the aim is to get yourself into assets that are going to grow in value. And it all starts by getting a saving plan in place. So hopefully that is something of use. I recommend that everybody has a plan for their money that involves putting some aside for their future self. And part of that future self is having a savings plan and an investing plan. And the sooner you start that plan, the sooner you will be securing your financial future, and you'll be able to use the power of time to solve the money equation. So that's Woody's Weekly Wisdom, episode number 38. A bit of a soft one this week, not an overly controversial heading or headline, but a really important message from some data that has just come out of the blue because somebody was inquisitive, and that's fantastic. But that data, those responses have been really empowering and informative to understand where people are with their money and their savings. So if you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment, subscribe to the channel, click on the bell to get notified when we put these videos out. If you're watching on Facebook or LinkedIn, leave us a comment, like this post so we can get more people to see them. And I'll see you again next week for another episode of Woody's Weekly Wisdom. Cheers.